This is Catherine Rodwell, a young woman on the road to recovery after being diagnosed with cancer. At first, lack of awareness meant she didn't realise what a range of troubling, then debilitating symptoms were. In fact, a GP told her it was a weight problem, but a scan found she had a large mass in her right lung.
After a biopsy and many more different scans, I was given my full diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 2. You never think it's going to happen to you. I'm currently on my 5th type of treatment, which is a type of immunotherapy. I've had 5 of those, 6 in total, and hopefully after the 6, fingers crossed, I'll be in remission. And after that, I'll be having a donor stem cell transplant.
She knows she's in a tough place, but she has a very clear message for other young people who think something might be wrong.
Well, I do not want anyone else to go through what I did. When I first went to the GP, I felt like I was being silly, that my symptoms were just me being paranoid, and I wasn't taken seriously. You know your own body, don't think that you're being silly. Like, one thing I remember that I never actually told the GP was I remember looking down and thinking my right side of my chest wasn't inflating, but I was like, no, that's absolutely stupid, I'm just being paranoid. In reality, that's what was happening. I had a mass in my chest that my right lung wasn't inflating, which is why I was so breathless.
And the Teenage Cancer Trust say it is a matter of youngsters being aware.
Cancer in teenagers and young adults is rare. Only 1% of all cancers fall in that age group. But 7 young people are diagnosed with cancer every day. And it's just ensuring that we give the message to young people that they know the potential signs of cancer. It may not be cancer, but it's just making them aware of the signs that cancer could be occurring in their age group, and then letting them know how and where they go to seek help for further advice and support.
There's at least one person that is looking at this thinking, I have those symptoms, please go to the GP. And if there's one person that they get diagnosed earlier because of this, it would mean everything, because I'm at least helping someone.
Ian Lang, ITV News, Flintshire.
So when I was in my second year of university, I was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of blood cancer.
And just tell us the story of what happened.
So it started in the January. I noticed that I started getting a cough, and I put that down to the fact that I was smoking at the time. So I stopped smoking. I made it my New Year's resolution to get healthy. Sorry.
Don't worry, it can be. It's all cut and edited, so it's easy. Relax. You don't have to get this sort of thing right. It's not, like I said, it's not live. It's not a speech. It's like a conversation, and it's all cut. It's all edited together. So don't worry about it. I can cut little bits together.
Do I look at the camera or you?
Oh, you look. Sorry, I should have said that. You look at me.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I know the camera's more attractive. So we'll start again. So okay. What happened?
So when I was in my second year of university, which part do I start?
Just right from the beginning.
The very beginning.
The very beginning.
Okay, so my name is Catherine Rodwell. I'm 22 and I'm from Gwynaffield, near Mold in North Wales. When I was in my second year of university studying maths, I was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of blood cancer. It started in the January of 2019. I started noticing that I was coughing, and I put that down to the fact that I was smoking. So I stopped smoking and made it my New Year's resolution to get healthier. It wasn't until the March later in that year that I noticed that my coughing hadn't stopped. I was also starting to become quite tired and quite breathless. So my campus is on a hill, and I would get to the top of the hill and start coughing quite a lot, start getting quite breathless. But I put this down to my weight, and that I was unhealthy. So, what's the next one?
So you began to get worried a bit. I mean, you were worried before, but you think maybe I should do more.
Yeah, sorry, just give me a second. I'm just trying to think it through in my head.
Take your time. Like I said, there's no time limit on this.
Yeah, so it got to the point I would get back from university, drop my bags on the floor and get straight into bed because I was just getting so tired. But I put this down to university stress. I was doing maths, so it was very intense of a course. And it just started getting worse and worse. And then finally, just before my Easter break, I decided that I was at my limit and I had to go to the GP because it was just getting worse. I went there and she listened to both my lungs and said they sounded healthy and told me to go buy some steroid nasal spray, come back after 2 weeks and hopefully that it will have cleared up. So I went home for the Easter break and spent 3 weeks at home. But when I got home, because I was running on adrenaline, I just completely crashed. I didn't want to get up off the sofa. I would wake up every morning, go downstairs, sit on the sofa and wouldn't move really until I went to bed because I was just aching all over. I also wasn't eating, so although I'm quite a big girl, or throughout the day I would have maybe half a sandwich a day at its worst. And to top it all off, I started sweating over night time. I would wake up 3 times a night drenched in sweat. And this was the point that my mum got super worried about me. So we decided that when I went back home, when I went back to uni, she would come with me to uni and stay in my dorm room to take care of me because I just couldn't take care of myself anymore. When I got back, we went to the GP the first opportunity we could. And it was, he listened to my lungs again, said that both sounded healthy, and told me everything I was experiencing was due to my weight. But I knew that what I was experiencing wasn't normal. So I pushed him, and finally he said, okay, I'll send you for a blood test and a chest x-ray, but it won't show anything. And so a week later I went to have the chest x-ray, and I remember having the x-ray and they told me to wait in the little waiting room where you put the gown on. And I thought it was quite weird because no one else was being told to wait after the x-ray, but they told me I could go. And after that I went back to the GP to find out the results of the blood test. And although that very basic blood test came back absolutely fine, we walked in and he seemed quite sheepish and told me that actually something has come up on that x-ray, saying there's a mass there and that he thinks it's a lymphoma. And I'd never heard of this word before. I had a call from the hospital that I had the x-ray at to say, in 2 days, can you come back in for further tests? Which I did. They then admitted me because they told me that not only was this mass in my chest, I also had fluid around my lung and my heart. So it was quite much more serious than I thought it was. I was in hospital for over a week, which was during my final year exams. So I went in the week before my final exams of that year. And then after a biopsy and many more different scans, I was given my full diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 2.
So since, what can you say? How what was your reaction? It's shock, fear, those things, I suppose.
I was absolutely terrified because anyone, when they hear the word cancer, just thinks, oh my God, it's happening, but you never think it's going to happen to you. And we were given a week from when I was first admitted to when I finally got my diagnosis to sort of come to terms with that. So when I was finally given the diagnosis, I was thinking, right, we need to get on this and we need to start the treatment.
So take us through what's happened since then.
Since then, I have been on a total of 5 different treatments. I was given the remission. I was told I was in remission after my second treatment back in November. And I was absolutely ecstatic. Finally, I was able to start my life back up again. But in January of this year, I was experiencing the symptoms again. And during my radiotherapy planning CT, it showed an enlarged lymph node, which meant it had come back.
So where are we now?
I'm currently on my 5th type of treatment, which is a type of immunotherapy. I've had 5 of those, 6 in total, and hopefully after the 6th, fingers crossed, I'll be in remission.
That's what we want, isn't it?
Yeah, and after that I'll be having a donor stem cell transplant. So it's
right,
non-stop.
Explain that, the donor stem cells.
So basically the team have decided that the best way to go is to have a donor stem cell transplant, which will restart my immune system with someone else's, basically. And hopefully that will be happening within a few months, if I'm lucky.
That'd be great.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
How are you? I mean, it's every question you think, when you talk to people who go through this, every question I ask seems crass. It just does. But how are you? How are you? How are you bearing up?
It's very difficult. I can't sugarcoat that. It's very difficult, but I am very grateful to have such an amazing family around me, such amazing friends, and I'm in the best place being treated. So my hospital has a Teenage Cancer Trust ward that help young people like me go through this a lot easier, and it's just made it so much better because I've been to 3 different hospitals now with treatment, where I was initially diagnosed back at home, and then when I went on to my 2nd treatment, I was moved to the Teenage Cancer Trust ward, and it's the best place to be, definitely.
So in terms of this thing about you going through this unpleasant time in your life, hopefully a short unpleasant time in your life, and then have the rest of your life after that, why are we here? Why have you agreed to do this interview?
Well, I do not want anyone else to go through what I did. When I first went to the GP, I felt like I was being silly, that my symptoms were just me being paranoid, and I wasn't taken seriously, yet it was something that was so much more than I thought it was going to be. And I want people to not be scared of going to the GP, especially during COVID times, as referrals are so down. Thinking that someone else will have to go through this, it's quite frightening. Like, I just want to tell people that you know your body, you know what's normal and what isn't for you. So if you're told by someone, no, you're just being silly, don't lost my train of thought, sorry.
Don't believe. You know as you told me, you know your own body, don't you?
Yeah, you know your own body. Don't think that you're being silly. Like, one thing I remember that I never actually told the GP was, I remember looking down and thinking my right side of my chest wasn't inflating, but I was like, no, that's absolutely stupid, I'm just being paranoid. In reality, that's what was happening. I had a mass in my chest that my right lung wasn't inflating, which is why I was so breathless. And it's just because that's something that you would never think that's actually happening.
And I think the other thing as well is that you're dealing with this thing of people in a GP is somebody in a place of authority, etc., etc. You're a young person, and there is a tendency, isn't there, that we're just making a fuss.
Yeah, you think when you're younger, especially, that GPs know everything because they're the first people that you go to if there's something wrong. But even they can get it wrong. They're just human, and they don't know you. You've known you your whole life. You know what's normal. You know what's not. They don't. So, although they can be correct in most circumstances, a lot of the time they're not. And they're not professionals in the thing that's wrong with you.
That's the problem, isn't it? It's just, no, it's this instinct you have, and you've got a good family, haven't you? You've got backed you all the way.
Yeah, definitely.
And what time scale has all this happened from being you, yourself, young and looking forward to things, to now?
So when I first started noticing symptoms, it was January 2020. I was diagnosed on the January 2019. I was diagnosed on the 18th of May 2019. And it's been going all this time, about a year and a half coming up to.
1.5, and what we want is for it to be over, don't we?
Yeah, I want to get back to my life. I want to go back to uni and get my degree that I started off.
What are you going to do when all this is over?
I'm not too sure. Hopefully, I'm either going to go back and continue doing maths, or I'm considering maybe switching to a psychology degree, because I want to be able to help people that have been in my situation. So maybe going into the mental health side, because that's such a big part of this treatment. It's not just the physical stuff that's going on. So to be able to tell someone, I've been there, I know what's going on because I have been there.
That's the credibility thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because it's guys like me or anybody else nobody can tell you anything about your situation, can they? But you can tell somebody else is going through the same thing. I was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that. So in terms of COVID, that is just another layer of difficulty for you, isn't it?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed pre-COVID, like quite a while before COVID, and when I relapsed, it was just before the shielding and everything went into place. So I was in the middle of my third type of treatment as an inpatient when the lockdown went in. So we were there every day looking at the figures, being absolutely terrified, thinking, what is going to happen? And since then I've been in shielding. Well, I only leave the house to either go to treatment or to come to places like this.
Well, the thing is, just coming here and doing this interview is an act of courage.
It's very big for me.
I mean, when you made this decision, you knew you'd have to take, well, the risk is small, it's all small, but even so, it's still a risk, isn't it?
Yeah, I have to plan everything I do to make sure I'm at least of a risk as possible.
We'll ask that on the basis of why are you doing this? Because this is not the easiest things to do, talk to a camera. Why are you doing it, and what do you hope?
If there's at least one person that is looking at this thinking, I have those symptoms, please go to the GP. And if there's one person that they get diagnosed earlier because of this, it would mean everything. Because I'm at least helping someone.
And the saying, with you, there was that delay, wasn't there? Because it was lack of belief.
Yeah, I just didn't. He didn't believe me, and therefore I doubted myself. But in reality, I was totally right.
So I mean, you've told your story. I mean, frankly, you're on the road to recovery.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, again, emphasising this thing. If there's a young person out there who's any doubts, any worries, what should they do?
Definitely go to your GP and make sure they know every symptom that you've been experiencing. Like, I wrote down every symptom I had and told him I have a list, to which he replied to me, I don't have time to go through that. And that sort of made me step back a bit, because I wasn't expecting that, especially being at uni where I was a bit uncomfortable anyway, as I'd never been to the GP up until that point at uni. And really, if you would have just read those lists of symptoms, it would have matched pretty much every symptom of Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Which you'd never heard of before.
I'd never heard of it.
Just what?
Yeah, I think, fact check, it's the most common type of cancer for my age range, which really GPs should be aware of that, if that's the case, especially on a university campus.